Imagine standing at the origin of an infinite number line. You begin flipping a fair coin that tells you where you should move. If you get tails, you take one step to the left, and if you get heads, one step to the right. This is a random walk in one dimension, and more specifically, this is a symmetric random walk, where we have equal probability of moving in either direction. We can generalize this type of walk to any number of dimensions, randomly selecting a unit step in any axis direction. So in 2 dimensions, we can take a step along the x or y axis, and in 3 dimensions along the x, y, or z axis. In the early 1900s, Hungarian mathematician George Pólya was interested in the following question. Once we begin our random walk, are we guaranteed to eventually return to where we started? We might think that, if we walk forever, we'll surely come back at some point, however long it takes. But when it comes to infinity, our intuitions can mislead us. It turns out, while this is correct in the 1 and 2 dimensional cases, in 3 dimensions this is suddenly no longer true, and in fact it's more likely that we never return. Our probability of returning drops from a clean 1 to 0.34. As it's often summarized, a drunk man will find his way home, but a drunk bird may get lost forever. Now you're probably asking why. Why this abrupt change in behavior as we jump from 2 dimensions to 3? Sure, as we move to higher dimensional space, we have more choices for our steps, and it makes sense that it would probably take longer to return. But to never return? That's strange. In this video, we'll try to gain some intuition about this awesome result, known as Pólya's recurrence theorem. Let's first formalize the question a bit. Let Sn be our location at step n. Then Sn is the sum of each of our individual steps xi, as I ranges from 1 to n. Each step xi is drawn uniformly among the axis-aligned unit steps. So for a given dimension d, there are 2 times d possible steps, and each has an equal chance of selection. Now, familiarity with Markov chains won't be required to understand anything in this video, but if you have seen them before, you know that we can view the walk as a Markov chain with an infinite set of possible states, every d-dimensional lattice point, with transition probabilities 1 over 2d for jumping to each neighboring state, and 0 for jumping to any farther state. We're concerned with this probability, the probability of returning to the origin at least once. If this probability equals 1, the origin will be called a recurrent state, but if there's some non-zero chance of never returning, it's transient. Suppose the origin is known to be recurrent. Then when we eventually do return, we will basically begin a brand new walk, again with the guarantee of returning. Naturally, we might expect to visit the origin infinitely many times over an infinite time frame. For these types of systems, this condition turns out to be both necessary and sufficient. We have recurrence if and only if the expected number of returns is infinite. Let's take a look at some walks in 1 dimension and see if we notice anything about their behavior. We'll set 100 walkers to each take 10 steps and record their final positions. One thing we see, of course, is that since we had an even number of time steps, we have 0 walkers on the odd coordinates. But there also seems to be a higher concentration of walkers near the origin. Let's try 1,000 steps with 10,000 walkers. Our walkers are more spread out now, but we still see this bell-shaped curve, which may remind you of a normal or Gaussian distribution. The central limit theorem tells us that the distribution of the sum of independent and identically distributed random variables with finite mean and variance ultimately converges to a normal distribution. Well, we definitely meet those conditions here. The mean of our 2-step choices is 0, and our squared step length is always 1. So if the sum of our individual steps is approaching a normal distribution, what is its width? How far do we expect to get? Let's compute the average squared distance from the origin at step n. This is also equivalent to the variance of Sn, because Sn is a centered random variable. The expected position, no matter how many steps we take, is still 0, the origin. The squared distance will just be the square of the sum of our steps. Linearity of expectation allows us to bring the expectation operator inside these two summations. We already know that the square of each step length is 1, but what is the expectation of xi times xj? That is the product of two independent steps. Well, half the time the step directions will be the same, and half different. Likewise, the product is -1 or 1 with equal frequency. So the expectation of this product is 0, and overall we end up with a sum of n ones. So our average squared distance is just n, and our root mean squared distance, the standard deviation of Sn, is the square root of n. You're likely familiar with the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, where we expect 68, 95, and 99.7% of the values of a normal distribution to lie within 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations of the mean, respectively. So let's first think heuristically about our probability of being at the origin at a given step. Since it's only possible to return in an even number of steps, we'll ask, what's the probability of returning on step 2n? Well, if our distribution is approximately normal, we expect to end up within 1 standard deviation of the mean the majority of the time. For 2n steps, our standard deviation is radical 2n, and there are about 2 times radical 2n positions within this distance from the origin, with half of them being even. If we treat these options uniformly, we might guess that our probability of being at the origin is on the order of 1 over radical 2n. Now, this constant is probably a bit off because we only expect to be within this interval 68% of the time. And in truth, we should have a bit more probability mass for positions closer to the origin. But it turns out this is a pretty good approximation. To be a little more accurate, let's determine how many possible trajectories there are of length 2n. For each step, we have 2 choices, negative and positive, so that's 2 raised to the 2nth power distinct trajectories. How many of these have us back at the origin at step 2n? Well, such a trajectory would be required to have exactly as many negative steps as positive steps. We can simply focus on which steps will be designated as positive, while the rest will be negative. So how many ways are there to select n indices out of 2n total indices? That would be the binomial coefficient, 2n choose n. So our probability of being back at the origin is 2n choose n over 2 to the 2n, the number of suitable trajectories divided by the total number of trajectories. Great. But now we have several factorials which are difficult to evaluate. To help, we can bring in Stirling's formula, which is known to be asymptotically equivalent to the factorial. The derivation for Stirling's formula is a bit involved and deserves its own separate video. At the moment, let's just take it off the shelf and plug it in. After simplifying, we end up with this 1 over radical pi n. So we were pretty close. The probability decreases proportionally to 1 over radical n. With this in hand, let's evaluate the expectation of the number of visits in one dimension. The summand here is an indicator variable, where it equals 1 if S2n is the origin and 0 otherwise. We end up with a p-series, where p, our power, is 1/2. If we remember from calculus, a p-series with p less than or equal to 1 ends up diverging because the summand decreases too slowly, regardless of any constant factor multiplying it. The expected number of returns to the origin is therefore infinite, and our probability of returning is 1. What happens in 2 dimensions? Consider 2 one-dimensional walkers taking steps simultaneously, one confined to the x-axis and the other to the y-axis. This is actually equivalent to a single 2-dimensional walk, but rotated by 45 degrees and slightly rescaled. Getting back to the origin requires both walkers to return at the exact same time step. If we take the expected number of returns now, our p-series has power 1, grows like the harmonic series, and diverges again. You might guess where this is going. Is a 3-dimensional walk equivalent to 3 simultaneous 1-dimensional walks? Well, it isn't exactly. An actual 3-dimensional walk has 6 options at each step, 2 for each of the 3 axes. But 3 1-dimensional walks have 8 possible options at each step. Still, for the purposes of recurrence, the behavior is equivalent. We won't do the full derivation here, which is a bit more involved than in 1 and 2 dimensions. But the return probability for the 3-dimensional walk on step 2n ends up decreasing proportionally to n to the negative 3 halves. Our p-series now has a power greater than 1 and converges. In 3D, we expect to only return a finite number of times. In these calculations, we focused on the origin, but it's easy to see that in 1 and 2 dimensions, every other location will be visited as well. Why? Consider some point A and a single path from the origin to A. For example, in 1 dimension, this could be the straight line path from the origin to A. Well, every time we're at the origin, we'll have some positive probability of following this path, and therefore visiting A. If we view this as a Bernoulli trial, where success is defined as following this path, we'll have probability of 1 of getting a success over an infinite number of trials. And when we do reach A, we can view it as the initial state of a new walk. So in 1 and 2 dimensions, we have probability 1 of visiting every point, with infinite expected visits for each. Recurrence at the origin implies recurrence everywhere. Now, algebraically, this all might be convincing, but still, why this abrupt change from 2 to 3 dimensions? What ultimately clicked for me was understanding that higher dimensional walks only behave like 2-dimensional objects expanding over time. Alright, what does that mean? To understand, let's revisit the question of average distance traveled. Before, we proved that the root mean squared distance of a 1-dimensional walker's position at step n is root n. It turns out that this square root relationship holds in any number of dimensions. Let Sni be the ith coordinate of the walker at step n. The expected squared distance along the ith axis will be equal to the number of steps taken along that axis. So the expected squared total distance is n regardless of the dimensionality of the walk. What if we ask a related question? When we first reach a distance r, how many steps do we expect to have taken? Similarly, this ends up being r squared steps. This is really the key. Suppose that, optimistically, when a 3-dimensional walk reaches distance r, all of its r squared expected steps visited distinct points, with 0 repeats. But the total number of points within this distance will grow like r cubed. As time goes on, the walk will cover an ever-decreasing fraction of these points, proportional to r squared over r cubed, or 1 over r, and won't be able to catch up. So the rate at which 3-dimensional walks move away from the origin is too great relative to this coverage rate. In the limit, even though a 3-dimensional walk will visit infinitely many points, it will only visit 0% of the entire state space. The origin can't be recurrent because we know, as with the 1 and 2-dimensional cases, recurrence would imply visiting every point. And while sure, it's possible for it to return to the origin a few times by chance, eventually it will get lost forever. The walk is like an expanding 2-dimensional object because they exhibit similar ratios of distance reached versus expected coverage. If a circle lying on the z=0 plane begins expanding, when it reaches distance r, it will only have encompassed roughly pi r squared points, an ever-decreasing fraction of the bounding sphere of radius r. In 2 dimensions, the expected r squared steps ensure that the walk never falls too far behind. The coverage rate ends up being sufficient to eventually visit all the points, infinitely many times with probability 1. For some more on random walks and various proofs of Pólya's recurrence theorem, check out the links in the description. Thanks for watching.